All right, Eric is leaning over right now. Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, or evening, or late night, wherever you're calling in from. My name is Ikai Lan.
And I'm Eric Kalita.
And we're here today to talk about Google Apps Script. This is a series of live broadcasts that we're doing, and you'll see that we've got this fancy new studio now. We announced it last time, and I'm so thrilled to be here every single time. So Eric, what's new?
Well,
what's the word?
It's been another week in AppScript. I'd say the exciting revelation of this week has been there's been a blog post out on using AppScript with Google Analytics, combining the two into a super awesome mashup, which has really gone viral. I've seen tons of posts about it on Google+, on Twitter, blog posts about it. I think we're really meeting a big demand here, which is that people use analytics, love it, and they want to do even more with it. They want to automate it. They want to do scripting around it. And so that's been really huge.
I feel like this is one thing we're totally piggybacking off of analytics because analytics is huge, right? It's one of the largest properties we have, I would say in the world. And by pushing out this blog post, we realized that a lot of people want to do a lot more with analytics. They want to take the product and they want to integrate it with spreadsheets because you might want to do custom formulas and things like that. And as soon as you get into the AppScript world, suddenly you can integrate with a whole variety of Google APIs. And I think that what we're seeing with the blog post is really just the beginning of a lot of what developers can do.
Yeah, I mean, analytics, I use it personally, and there's like 1,000,001 options of reports you can generate, ways you can segment data, right? But even still, people are mining even more information out of there. And with Google AppScript, it really allows you to build custom dashboards, right? We have dashboard functionality and charts and graphs. You can email out reports. You can generate PDFs. So really, it allows for people to kind of customize down to the very nitty-gritty exactly the data that they want to see.
So I really want to encourage all of you out there to take a look at this blog post because we'd love to see more AppScript applications in the Chrome Web Store. And I have a gut feeling that tells me that if you were to build a really compelling application on top of Google Analytics, that you would suddenly skyrocket to the top.
That's a good point. I mean, building something just for yourself, that's great, and it's going to help you out. But now with the Google Chrome Web Store, you can really take the work you've done, package it up, and deliver it to the whole world in a way that's, they can just one-click install and then get going with it. So I think that really is I think the blog post this week just showed how important analytics are and how using AppScript analytics can really be a path to success.
So we've got a good show for you guys today. What we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on. We've got a couple of questions in the live moderator queue, so we're going to go through those. And after that, we're going to take some questions from the audience and just discuss a few things that are going on.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Sounds great.
All right, we're acting as if we hadn't planned this out. But let's go ahead and get started.
All right. So do you want to jump to the questions? I mean, I think we showed the blog post already and talked about that. I don't know if you had any other comments, but that was kind of the big news. So we normally have a release every week, and part of the show is talking about the release notes. But this week, quiet. The release didn't really have anything in it. So we don't have anything new features to discuss or bug fixes, but keep staying on top of the issue tracker, looking out for any bugs that you've reported or new features you'd like to see, and hopefully next week we'll be back with more news on that front.
Sure.
All right, well, let's jump into the moderator then and take some questions.
So I've done a little bit of preparation. I've looked at some of these questions ahead of time. So I've answered them in the comments, but we're going to go through these live anyway, just if we want to elaborate a little bit more about some of the answers and stuff like that.
All right, let me just get that queued up over here.
So while we're pulling that up, I want to encourage if you get a chance to watch our live Hangout. And we do invite developers into joining our Hangout. But what we need to do is on Google+, we need to encircle you. I think that's the verb now, right? We encircle you.
Encircle, yeah.
That's not creepy at all. Right? It's not an official term. It's just one that we've been using. But after we add you, let us know that you're a Google AppScript developer, and we will add you. And when we do have these office hours, we can invite you. You can jump on. You can say hi. Right? We've got a couple of regulars that jump on, and we love seeing you guys, and we love talking to you guys about what you're up to.
Yeah, I mean, obviously to jump on, you're going to need a webcam and a mic, so if you don't have that or you're not comfortable, the moderator page that we have set up allows you to at least get your questions out there.
Right.
All right, so we got them up here on the local machine. You can't stream them live right now, but let's go over the first one. So top here of the list, Google AppScript describes itself as working across Google products and third-party services, but I don't see anything concerning Reader. I guess that's Google Reader. Does Google Reader support Google Apps Script, or are there better ways to augment this service?
So I was looking at this, and we don't provide a Google Reader integration at the moment. And I think that, I went looking to see if we have a Google Reader API, and we don't. There are a couple of unofficial ones on the web, but the Google Reader API is not really published. So it seems like it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but I would encourage you to file a feature request in our issues tracker, because we do want to see what the demand is. I mean, is it one person asking for this? Is it 200 people? Is it 2,000 people? I mean, that can really help us gauge how important this is to our developers. I mean, in my perfect world, we would have every single API under the sun, right. But unfortunately, there is a limited amount of time, and we want to get a few things. We want to get the most important things out there before we start tackling a lot of these other things.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things about Reader is that it doesn't have a lot of inputs and outputs, right? You subscribe and then you read it.
Your mark is right.
Yeah, I mean, short of that, I think the API it wouldn't be too large. I mean, what is great about, and I actually just reshared on my Plus stream today something that someone did, which is that using the Google Apps Script content service, you can now generate your own RSS feeds. So someone today actually created a very creative one where they took the AppScript release notes page in HTML, parsed it, and made an RSS feed out of it. So it's not interfacing with Reader, but they did create an RSS feed. So it's kind of, you can use Google Reader as almost the front end to some of your data,
right.
Using AppScript to generate that feed.
Right. So I don't know. I'll ask around. I mean, the tech lead of the Google Reader team is someone I used to work with. They're based out of Sydney. And every time I visit them, I put in my feature request, because Google Reader is a product that I use many, many times every day. And I think, Eric, you feel the same.
Yeah. Wait, you got to go to Sydney? That's awesome.
Yeah, well, you just have to ask, right?
Right?
If you can, they've got a couple of interesting teams out there. They've got, I don't know the teams right now, but they've got a huge section of the cloud engineering team.
We'll have to check that out. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had a guy who was on a site reliability rotation. So one thing that you can do when you work for Google is that they have these rotations, and you'll see these advertised. And one of the rotations is a site reliability engineering rotation that you can do for either 6 months or a year, and it's a very cool thing to do if you're in an engineering or tech role, because you can learn a lot about what keeps Google up, and how the pager system works and all that good stuff. So I would encourage you that if you've ever considered working for Google, I mean, we are hiring, so there is my plug right there. Now recruiting can get off my back. But there's so many cool programs here, and that's just one of them, and you get to meet a lot of really great people when you're doing that.
That's great.
So.
All right, so the next question we had here was, why does contactsapp.getContact, passing in an email, why is it so slow? It takes more than 10 seconds to respond, this person's saying. Is there any way of fixing this or working around this issue?
I took a look at the specific issue, not his specific issue, but I tried reproducing this behavior. Now, granted, I spent about 10 minutes on this, but I could not reproduce this, unfortunately. So my guess is that there's something, oh, hold on, we've got a response coming in. This might be live. Here we go. This looks like, okay, so there's a couple of things going on here. This is not necessarily just the contacts application. It looks like you're doing something with spreadsheets as well. I don't know why this is taking so long, but I'll take a look at this when I get a chance.
I think I looked into this previously when someone else brought it up, and for some of our APIs, it matters how much data you have. So if you have a ton of contacts, you may see different performance than other ones. And I think it's just a limitation, and sometimes the way that we fetch data, we kind of fetch it all at once, and there's not the ability always to filter. So, I think we'll have to see, it depends maybe on how many contacts you have, and perhaps letting us know how many contacts you have could let us better gauge what the performance is like.
I'm looking at this code sample. So if one thing to be really interesting, really good for us to do is, first off, I want to completely separate spreadsheets out of this. So create a test application that takes the spreadsheet out and just uses Logger, because Logger is never going to be slow. But take it out and use this example, and use only the line of code where you use get contact. And furthermore, you want to isolate whether it's this specific contact, this specific user, or your specific domain. There's any number of issues that this could be. I mean, we could just have a data corruption, some which I doubt. It's very rare, but we want to narrow it down.
That's a good point. I mean, we do a lot of work on the issue tracker. We're out there all the time, and it's paramount that when you do provide us with an issue, that you try to isolate it as much as possible, right? When people give us their 100 lines of code that touches 10 different services, it's really hard for us to figure out where the problem is. So take the time. You're experiencing the other error, so you already have the reproduction case. A great way, I think we talked about in the past, copy your whole script, just start removing parts. and until you can still get the error, but it's as small as possible. That really helps us out a lot.
Right. I mean, I think that it's one of these what we call n-squared problems, where it's usually not any particular API that's slow. I mean, or bad. I mean, if it is, it's very easy for us to figure out what's going on, because there's one thing happening, at least from an external perspective. But a lot of times when you have two APIs interacting with one another, this can cause unpredictable things to happen. And the more APIs we add, and we're always adding more APIs, the more kind of combinations that we can have of things that are going wrong.
Yeah. In some cases, there's best practices around batching up your requests or batching up your work that we can maybe help with too.
Right. In this case, this is a pretty simple call, so I suspect it has to do with the account or the contact that's being fetched.
That's a good point.
But won't know for sure.
All right. So the next one we got on here is there a way to iterate through all the comments in a document object and pull out only the unresolved comments?
I did not see this question while I was looking at it. This just came in.
Well, I do know that today you're not able to access these kind of document comments. These are the new ones that you see in Google Docs that they pop off to the side. You can add new replies as you go along, and it's got your little face next to it. So these kind of new dynamic comments have actually just been added recently to Google Spreadsheets as well, and we currently don't support access to them in either Spreadsheets or Docs. So I don't think that's going to work out for getting the unresolved ones. At least not in Spreadsheets, we don't support them. I know for sure.
Good. So I see a question come in. Any update on the annoying empty logs issue?
That is a popular one.
Which annoying empty logs issue? No, I know which one you're talking about. The one about logs on callback. Yes, this is one of the top priorities right now. And I want to say that there's good news, which is that there are two things happening in parallel. One is that we are addressing this particular issue because this is stopping a lot of developers, and this is causing a lot of misfired bugs. When I look at issues in the issues tracker, I see people say things like, well, this API is not working. I do a log and it doesn't work. And well, it's working, but it's not logging.
Yeah.
So I chase this down, and then I go and I'll follow up and I'll say, guys, please fix this. The second thing that's happening is that we are looking at overhauling the logs infrastructure.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really cool when that comes out.
Yeah, they're definitely working on short-term fixes. People want their logs today, but we're also stepping back and saying, especially in the world of web apps where maybe you have tons of users using your application and you want to get data. So we're stepping back and rethinking a little bit about how logs are done.
Right.
And I guess, in the meantime, I think all we can recommend, since the logs aren't working in some of these scenarios, is putting your data somewhere else, logging it to a spreadsheet, logging it to a file, something like that.
It's really annoying,
it's
but
but
there are some people that we found out use this as their workflow, and this was part of the impetus to just overhauling the way we do logging and the dashboard, because we found out last week's Hangout that we have developers that what they do is instead of logging, they've wrapped a class and it's like a log method, and they'll email logs themselves because the nice thing about this is that you get the logs in semi-real time, whereas right now there is a bit of a delay between when objects are flushed to your log. In most cases, it seems like it happens after the script is finished running, but I've personally seen situations where it's like a very long-running script, it'll be flushed periodically.
Oh, interesting.
So maybe I'm wrong and totally I've observed it wrong, but I'll do follow-up about that.
Yeah, the email system is great too because the logs go away the next time the script is run.
Right.
So sometimes people want to persist that log information.
Right. And that's to me that's telling us that there's lots of places we can improve that.
Room for improvement.
And
then we got another one here. I think the last.
Is there a way to iterate through a contact in the Contacts app service for, let's say, non-empty fields? So I tried a few things to make this work. Like I tried a couple of little hacks, and I was unsuccessful. So I would suggest that please put this feature request in. I can see why you would want to do this because I looked at the API, and the API contains things such as get emails, get IMs, get phones. But let's say you don't want to exhaustively go down that list. You want to say, well, I want to list these things out.
Everything I do know, everything that is populated.
Yeah. Exactly. So please, by all means, follow feature requests, and we will try to get that triaged.
Sounds good. Okay. All right. So I think that pretty much wraps up everything we have in the moderator. Feel free to, if you're watching and not in the Hangout, to add some more on there. We'll keep going back to it. But I guess now let's cut to our Google Hangout and see if we have any live questions. Hello and welcome.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes, we can. Hi. How are you?
Oh, that's great. I'm fine, thank you. That's my first time in a hangout. I want to thank you all for these sessions. They're very helpful for us.
Oh, you're welcome.
I have an issue where I have created my first dashboard script. It is currently shared with my friend who has edit access to it. This dashboard script, which is owned by me, uses data from a spreadsheet owned by my friend. I have edit access to it. I published the dashboard script shared with my friend, but every time he tries to access it, he gets that page where he has to request sharing. He's not able to see the dashboard. I have tried very publish modes, different publish modes. Any ideas?
Yeah, one initial thing that jumps out at me, which is I've made this mistake a lot, which is when you publish something as a web app, there's two different URLs. There's the dev URL, and then there's the fully published URL. So the dev URL ends in /dev, while the published URL that everyone can access is /exec, right? So the dev URL is great when you're building your script and your web app because you can make changes and then immediately see them reflected. However, for everybody else in the world, in the published URL, it only serves a certain version. And so we have this concept of versions now in scripts, where you define a version and then set your web app to publish with that version. So I've made the mistake of actually emailing out my dev URL, which nobody else can access. That would be one thing to check for. Do you know if that's the case, or if you've ruled that out?
Well, the URL I am sharing is the URL that shows on the pop-up box right after I publish it. I choose the latest version, click share, and it just shows me check out. This is the link for your published script. That's the link I'm sharing.
Prod URL.
Well, I mean, there's a text box that has the prod URL, and then there's a link underneath it that says "click here for your latest code."
Right.
Yeah, that's the one that I'm using. The latest code link.
The latest code link is the dev URL.
Oh, So the nice thing about the dev URL is that it always reflects your latest changes, whereas a prod URL only reflects the whatever you pushed out as the latest version. So one thing to try is look at the URL and see if it ends in /dev, and if it does, well, that's the issue. So look in there's a text box I think that has the full URL with /prod. Now copy paste that and send that one out.
Yeah, we should probably clarify the language on that page because it's not exactly clear that that latest code link only works for you, I think. But yeah, you want to use the one that's in the text box, not the one that's in the link.
Right. And to
that was the problem. Then I will just try it right now and see if it solves. But I was using the wrong share link. Then it definitely could use a little improvement in the writing.
Do you have a separate account that you use that you could share with to test it out, so you don't have to ask your friend to open the script? That would let you verify it right away.
Yeah, I'm just doing that right now.
Okay, cool.
I'm very excited about dashboards. I've dreamed about them for a long time.
Google Apps are making dreams come true.
I'm just really glad that
it's working. Working.
There you go. I think that deserves a high five right there. And we'll give you a virtual high five through the internet right there. Boom. That's probably a terrible idea. Much. We should probably never do that again.
Can I just go ahead and ask another question?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think
if someone else has another question.
There's someone who has a camera turned off or doesn't have a camera. I want to make sure that this person doesn't have a question first.
Is that our producer?
Yeah.
Oh,
I have a question, but maybe Luciano, I'll continue and I'll.
You're a little bit quiet. Can you speak up or speak closer to the microphone?
Okay, I'll try. Is it better now?
Hello?
No, he's there.
Hello?
Let me just...
Oh, I hear him. It's just, hold on, we have to turn our volume up a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, maybe I'll try to plug in some microphone.
We can hear you now. We'll just have to be very, very quiet.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead and ask your question. We'll see what we can do.
Okay, I posted my question on the moderator, and it's about annoying empty logs issue.
We just answered that. We are working on it. It's a top priority, and so we have a little bit of a longer answer, but yes, we are working on this.
Okay, thanks. I was late, so I couldn't hear it.
Oh, no problem.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay. My other question.
And before you ask your question, is there something we can call you by? Because otherwise, I'm just going to call you guy or man or person.
I'm sorry, my name is Luciano.
Luciano, nice to meet you. Welcome to the
From
Hangout.
Brazil.
Oh, good.
Okay, so it's not really an issue. It's just I want some tip on how should I approach that. I would like to have my dashboard to have when I change something in the dashboard, it would show show some new charts and hide other charts, so I could have different perspective on my dashboard. I didn't really go search that on the web currently, but since I'm in Hangout, I thought I'll ask out.
Sure. So, do you mean that what exactly are you looking to do? You're saying that you would like some controls on your dashboard to change the views and show different widgets.
Yes, I would like some controls that change the set of charts currently displayed for another set of charts.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably possible if you utilize some of our UI app widgets, right? So in the dashboards world, there are now these things called controls, and these are things like sliders and category pickers.
Very cool stuff.
But and those really integrate perfectly with charts, but you can't, I don't think, get other events from them. You can't. I don't know if you can bind to their events and do other actions, but you could certainly create other types of controls that have been around for a long time. So things like buttons, radio boxes, checkboxes, tab panels. All these different widgets exist within the UI app infrastructure. So you could potentially utilize them where if they select one radio button, you hide a bunch of charts, or you hide a whole panel of charts even. You could organize your charts into a panel, hide the whole panel, show another panel. So all that should be possible.
Right. I think that if you're not familiar with building controls, a really good tutorial that I've just very recently done myself is there's one about the Charts API that uses different controls for filtering by name and age and weight and things like that. And I think that's a pretty cool one.
Yeah.
So once you do that tutorial, you have a pretty good idea of how to use controls to hide and show different panels in UI app. So when I heard this question, I immediately thought of about 20 different ways of doing this, and it's just whatever you're most comfortable with. Now, if you're comfortable with UI app, that's probably the way I'd go. If you're more comfortable with web development, say JavaScript and DOM and HTML, HTML service, this is fairly straightforward to do using jQuery, but it's not straightforward if you're not familiar with jQuery and manipulating the DOM and working with HTML.
Yeah, I think one of the unfortunate limitations there today is that the new dashboard stuff that we've produced for charts, I believe, only works in UI app today. With the HTML service, we've talked about it on past Hangouts. It only works. It works using this engine called Kaha that does a lot of sanitization, and currently Kaha doesn't allow through other API packages like the Charts API. So if you want to use the Charts dashboard stuff that's built into Google Apps Script, I think you're going to have to serve it through UI app today.
Right, and I guess that's one of the trade-offs that you have to think about making, which is that using the Charts API, you can create like a blob and an image, and you could fetch that via HTML service. But now you're doing all this work to do something that you could have just done in UI app, right?
Yeah.
So it's up to you, but you do get more kind of fine-grained control over how it looks and how it's laid out.
Yeah.
So there are various trade-offs you can make, but I do suspect that, like you, dashboards are great, and I love that AppScript lets us build them very quickly. UI app is probably the way to go, and there should be ways that you can make click handlers do hiding of things. And can you do this completely client-side, or does it also have to go server-side?
That's a good point, because in UI app there are the client handlers, right?
Well, yeah, that's doing it on the client side is exactly what I want, and I don't know if it's possible or not.
Yeah. I think it should be. There are client handlers that are very limited. You can't do as wide as functionality as with the server handlers, but you can, I believe, change some styling. You can, I think, hide and show, and you can do some other basic manipulations using the client handlers. So you may have some success there.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you very much. I'm gonna look into it then.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I mean, I guess just to give us and our viewers a sense, like, what are you using dashboards for? What kind of data do you find them to be useful for?
I'm sorry, I was shutting off my phone. It started ringing. What did you ask?
What kind of data are you showing in these dashboards? Like, what is your use case? Just to give people at home, I guess, an idea of what to use it for.
Okay. I have a scientific publishing house, and we have many employees filling out many different spreadsheets. And I'm trying to make sense of the data we have. So I'm showing different reference styles that each publication uses. I'm showing percentage of users of employees working with different publications and stuff like that.
Yeah, very cool.
I'm just starting out. I actually did use the tutorial mentioned that shows how many donuts people have eaten.
It's a very good one.
My first challenge was to actually use a data from the spreadsheet instead of the data that was already there.
Right.
And I'm very proud of myself because it took me less than 3 hours actually to do it, but it was very fun.
That's great.
Cool.
Yeah, it's good to see this new technology already getting use. It's only been out there for a couple of weeks, and now people are already using it to kind of dig deeper into data, which is great.
Right. It's very cool stuff.
Oh yeah, it was a childhood dream to do dashboards like this. I tried Excel many times, but couldn't make it. So I'm very thrilled.
One thing that's really nice about AppScript is how easy it is to collaborate on these things. So once you create a dashboard, you can publish it, and anyone that you want to see it can see it. So that's one advantage that you definitely have over something that's only running locally.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, and like you mentioned, the time it takes to go from a spreadsheet to something that you can share is pretty small compared to if you had to set up a server and all of a sudden get an environment going.
And Luciano, just imagine that your next dashboard, you're going to be able to do it in half an hour, and the next time after that, it's going to be 5 minutes, and over time, it's like Zeno's paradox, it'll approach zero, right? Where you'll be putting, and maybe you'll break that barrier where the dashboard will be built before you even start working on it, right? But
that's an even older dream of just dreaming about the code and it just magically happening in front of you.
We can file that as a feature request, I think. The dream
it's
service.
It's going to get closed.
That would be very nice.
But it's what will be really cool is once you get really good at doing this, you'll be able to kind of realize what kind of data you have, what kind of dashboards you like to show, and you can generalize your code so that it'll work on any spreadsheet. Right now, the code is flexible enough such that you can go through all your different types of spreadsheets. You can determine how many columns there are, how many rows there are, and roughly spit something out that'll work for 90% of what you need.
Yeah, that's actually.
I was just playing with that. Also, I added a second row that had the column types. Some of them were int, the others were string, and I was just dynamically building the table using the second row. But then I faced a problem that I just reminded it right now. I was getting the invalid type while creating the on that loop that creates the table, the data table.
Interesting.
Invalid.
I just got rid of that row and well. Left it for afterwards.
Yeah, maybe some more testing there and debugging to figure out what that is.
I am going to teach you something right now that is very dangerous, but it is worth noting. Oh, he's afraid now. So it's something called eval. But I have seen this, like this is something that we even use in a pinch. Now, I use this sparingly where for our viewers out there, eval is this thing that takes a string, and this string is code, and it will execute this code. So what I've seen some people do is they've taken code and they've put it into a spreadsheet, and their app script will go ahead and run this code. Now, this is very dangerous because you know, untrusted code is so only use it on your own spreadsheet where you know where the code came from, or if you trust people. Like if I built out something that was accessing my personal information and I had an eval in there and Eric had access to a spreadsheet, he could go and he could really just mess things up for me. But this is something that we have seen people doing. One thing that we were just talking about a few days ago was that sometimes people have been doing this thing where they will URL fetch, get some code from the internet. Someone has posted, they'll fetch it, and they'll eval the code, and they'll run the code that way. Now, this is, fortunately, like our developers are, I don't think we have too many malicious people. I don't think we have any bad people, now that I think about it. Just knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
So at least not people who will publish libraries, right? But even if they did, you could just look at the library and see what it's doing. Yeah. But when we saw that a lot of people were doing this, we realized that, hey, we need real libraries, man. Like this is not.
Yeah.
This is
it
not.
Can't be the full-time solution.
We can't keep. This can't continue. So
yeah, we do have libraries today too, right? So now there's the ability to package your script into libraries, import them into other scripts, share functionality. Right. A little better than eval.
So yeah, but eval is an option, and especially when we have one of our mail merge scripts that does an eval, only because it was just easier.
Yeah.
And only the three of us were accessing it. So.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna spend a couple more hours on that, making of use of something like that. It will help me also when I have to add or change columns, order, remove columns. Being able to read the column labels and just build up the data table objects from these labels is definitely the way to go.
Definitely. All right, great. Well,
listen, if I have one more thing, one thing that I would like to see, I didn't find yet, is some tutorial on laying out these dashboards, how to use the vertical panels, style them accordingly, horizontal panels, and making it look a little more pretty.
Right. So one thing before we go on is that quick time check. We are a little bit over time.
Yeah, we have to wrap it up, but I think you did bring up a good point, which is, a lot of our scripts tell you how to get it done, but not how to make it look pretty.
Right.
I think we usually don't go all the way to pretty, right? No. A lot of our sample code, if you probably complete a tutorial, it's going to look on a white background, right? It's going to look pretty boring. And I think that's because it's very subjective, obviously. What's the best way to organize your data depends on what your data is, how many charts you have, how many controls. So I would say start experimenting, and if you run into issues, that's definitely where we can come in and help.
And I'm sorry that we don't have time to answer all of your questions, but we will be here again, I think, in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Is it? Are we doing that one? I think. Well, we should be having one next week or 2 weeks. Look on developers.google.com for the calendar. There's one that we might push back because we are running, again, shameless plug, a hackathon in Austin, Texas on September 13th. It's a Thursday. So for our viewers in the Austin, Texas area, take a look on our blog, search for Austin AppScript Hackathon. Now that I've got it rigged with Google+, you'll see my face come up. I'm doing this. So click through, and there's a sign-up form, and we will provide food and various beverages.
Sounds delightful.
Various beverages. Hopefully we'll have lots of different things for you to drink and eat. And come by and hack on AppScript and meet us and learn some cool things. We've got some heavy hitters coming to that one. I found out recently that we have there's a tech lead and there's an Uber tech lead, and both of those guys are coming out to Austin. So for those of you guys coming to Austin, you're in for a real treat.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Well, it's been great. Another great episode, and we'll see you guys next time.
All right. Bye, guys.